Connor, let's go over your story, Two-Man Army. You did an excellent job with this. You followed the directions very carefully. All of your scenes, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, both ended with something horrible getting ready to happen, or really a suggestion of something horrible that was getting ready to happen. So we're going to work on formatting a little bit, and I'm going to point out a couple of ways you can improve your story. For fiction writing, we're going to use 1.15. Just gives us a little bit of space. And when we do fiction writing, we have a cover page as opposed to the MLA heading is a little bit different. And so this was called Two-Man Army. And our subtitle might be Ebola Zombies. I don't know if that's how you spell zombies or not. And then the date, we'll just pick today's date, or you can pick the date that you revised it. This must have gotten picked up from the computer that you used, and you are the author. So for fiction writing, we use a cover page. For MLA style, zombies. How in the world do you spell zombies? Let me see. Z-O-M-B-I. Z-O. There we go. Okay. I'm an awful speller. So you want to have a cover page. We want to use 1.15 for our fiction writing. The other thing that we want to do is we want to put a symbol to designate when we changed chapters. And this looks like your backstory about what happened before. This looks like your first chapter, second chapter, because we can tell this is a chapter changes when we change focus from a character or scene, and so this was the next change because now we are starting to talk about George McClane, and the first one was about Lincoln Jones. And then your third was about when they were back at camp. So you had 3 chapters. You actually ended up kind of with 4. And this first one here, it's kind of your backstories. But usually authors will put a symbol if you don't want to just put chapter 1. And we're just going to let that be kind of the pre-story. And here's your first chapter. And you can pick any symbol, but it gives you an opportunity to kind of designate your chapters a little bit. And you can import symbols, and some of the authors I proof for input a symbol based on what they're writing about. Like, since this is out in the woods, they might input a little symbol of a tree. So that's kind of cool because then it goes along with your story. For right now, I'm just going to use that one. And gosh, that almost makes me look cross-eyed. And we're going to center it. And we're going to bold it. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So you want to be able to designate your chapters. I'm going to take the same symbol and copy and paste it. That's your next chapter. And here's our next chapter. And so that divides it into chapters. You did a good job putting that dialogue in. You indented your dialogue. Let me go back and we'll go through. So when we're doing fiction writing, let's use 1.15. Let's put a cover page on it. And this could be considered your first chapter, but it looks like it's your backstory, so we're just going to leave it. Some books do that. They tell a little bit of background, and that doesn't go along with one of your pictures, so I'm not counting it as a chapter. But here we have April 26, 2020. When you were down here, it was something he hadn't seen in about 2 months, a person. And of course, this a person is not a sentence. And the way you're going to handle that is you're going to insert, I like to use M dashes when you do something like that. And an M dash is the same as a comma. It has a little bit more of effect, and it also, I use it a lot when I'm restating something. And then the next one, the kind that spreads the virus. Then he noticed the cut. He wasn't sure if it was a simple cut or one from a zombie. You could again use an M dash here. The kind that spreads a virus. It's not a sentence, so let's go ahead and just give this a comma and lowercase that. He wasn't sure if it was a simple cut or one from a zombie, the kind that spreads the virus. The kind that spreads the virus. Yeah, it kind of looks like a zombie is the kind that spreads the virus there. He wasn't sure if it was a simple cut or, I think it would make it clearer here, or a cut from a zombie, the kind that spreads the virus. And that makes a little more sense because we have cut here, then we have a prepositional phrase, or a cut, the kind that spreads the virus. But it has to be a specific cut, a cut from a zombie, the kind that spreads the virus. So I think that kind of fixed that. And here you have great endings on here. This could have been the great ending of this chapter 2. There were days when he wasn't sure if it would be the zombies, hunger, dehydration, or himself that would do him in. He knew he was alive, but he didn't know how long he would stay that way. That would have been a great ending to the chapter 2 because we have a suggestion of something horrible happening. He's not going to be able to stay alive. And then you continued on. He focused his thoughts on aiming his rifle, and then he fired. And we don't know what happened. We do again have the suggestion of something bad happening. So you were able to hold that conflict at the end, which makes the reader want to turn the page to see what happens. And then you switch chapters. We go to a new character's view, so that's a good time to change your chapter. And we see it from his point of view. And right here where you ended it, his vision started getting blurry and dark until he passed out completely, letting fatigue and pain overwhelm him as he accepted that it was his time to leave the world. Again, a good ending. Suggestion of something bad happening. We think he's getting ready to die. And we have a blank page here. I'm afraid I'll delete the whole story. That's okay. Then we go to our third chapter. And this one doesn't carry the conflict through as much. You're doing great on the conflict, but I have an idea to help you with the conflict. And I'm also going to give you a word. I'm going to type it up here for you. And I want you to give this word back to me. It's melancholy. And it means a sadness. And when you finish your video, this is the word I want you to type as your answer is melancholy. And that'll just help me know you watched the video and work on your vocabulary at the same time. So melancholy means sadness that carries on for a long time or makes you think in the past, and the past is making you sad. So that's your vocab word. It's the word for the video also. So here we have them back at the tent, McLean and Jones, and Jones is doctored up McLean, and it makes me wonder if you like to watch Walking Dead. But anyways, that because it seems a lot like Walking Dead. And that's okay. You're getting your idea and you're putting it in your own writing, your own thoughts into it. But right here, when they talk about that they need to leave, and we don't have I think we need to move to a different place and hope they don't follow us. Okay, so they need to leave. And they start arguing about where they're going to go. How fast can we get there? It's only about 30 miles east. 30 miles is too far to carry everything from my camp. I already have everything we need at my lab. All we would need to take from here are the weapons, plus I have equipment you can use for experimenting. This right here, I think you should have him say, I have found a cure. Because then the story goal becomes to get back there against all odds to find the cure. So see if you can develop that. I'm going to put on my review here. I have equipment plus I have equipment for experimenting. I believe I have the cure for Ebola zombies. If I can get back to my lab, we can save ourselves and these people. Or we might want to say zombies because they're not people at this point. So I want you to work on that angle, in that he has the cure. So they're going to have to risk everything to get back to the lab. And I know they set out, there was one, I'm needing, let me see, where is it? I'm saying it is closer than your lab, which puts us at less risk of environmental hazard and eliminates eliminates the need to stay outside in the open. So starting at this point here, or where they've decided that I have the cure, we've got to get back to my lab. Work on that angle a little bit so that they're willing to risk everything to get there. And at the ending, and so off they went on their way to search for a place to live, destined to outrun the zombies forever with nobody but each other. So our ending, our story goal is to get the cure. So we like stories where they succeed. And we don't have to say they necessarily succeeded. If you watched World War Z, that was about zombies. And at the end, they really didn't tell us if they succeeded, but they did show us giving the vaccine. They did show the viewers that they were giving the vaccine that was going to keep them from being eaten by zombies. And so hopefully they'd kill off the zombies and then everybody else would be immune. So we don't have to know that everything was happy. We just have to suggest that they met their story goal at the end of our chapter. So off they went, and let's say off they went armed with a vaccine, armed with, or a treatment, because I don't know, armed with a treatment to save the lives of the zombies and ultimately their own lives, or maybe armed with a treatment to save their own lives. And you might do, and if it is a vaccine, you might have them with handfuls of syringes. They've already vaccinated themselves, a handful of syringes. I don't know if I've got that out of your story. I was thinking about that World War Z movie. So let's have him find a cure so that we'll have a really strong goal. He has that cure back in his lab. And maybe you could tell Jones, maybe that McLean could tell him that, I vaccinated myself and that's why I've been able to stay alive so long. Or, this was a zombie bite, I've been scratched or whatever, and I'm still okay, and I can save you too. So try and develop that a little bit. And I know this is a short story. It's only 3 chapters. But see if you can develop a little more of that angle. And let's let them be armed to save lives at the end. You don't have to say they did. You don't have to say that they were successful. But our last chapter, instead of having something horrible happen, we want to have the suggestion of something good has happened and that they have learned something and that they are better off at the end than they were at the beginning. And at the beginning, Jones was alone with a rifle and killing everything, and now he has a companion and a cure. So let's work towards that angle for the last chapter. Everything else looks fantastic. You're a very good storyteller, and that is definitely your gift in writing. I'm also going to send you one of the reviews from your first narrative so you can see what another student thought about it. And I have another student doing a peer review. I'll be sending you a peer review to review another student's also, so you can read that and be able to critique someone else's writing, which I think always helps writers develop their own writing, because then they say, I like this or I didn't like this, and it helps you develop your own writing skills. All right, that's the end of the video. Remember the word and put the word down in the video so I know you watched it and you have a new word. Hopefully it's a new word you don't know. That's it.